Some vehicles serve a purpose. But then there are machines created where presence is everything. Ownership here isn't about need. It's about a statement so rare that few can replicate it. The ultra-luxury pickup segment is taking shape, moving beyond SUVs into a new elite category. Brands like Cadillac and Lincoln are targeting executives who demand size, presence, and authority. Others focus on raw power, turning these pickups into high-performance muscle machines. Mercedes-AMG took the G-Wagon's identity and added just enough utility to call it a truck. Here, a pickup isn't for hauling. It's for standing apart in a way that's immediately recognizable. It's about ultimate exclusivity, dominance redefined. And that's exactly where this machine exists. This truck is designed for a very specific type of buyer. Someone who wants the interior quality of a G-Class, the performance of a sports car, and the bold form of a pickup, all in one package. The goal is to create something so distinct it becomes its own category. The first thing that stands out is the material. This isn't traditional paint. What you're looking at is exposed carbon fiber covering the entire exterior. Every surface is finished in raw carbon fiber. It's an engineering obsession translated into design. Light doesn't just reflect, it interacts with the surface, revealing incredible depth and precision. At around 195 inches in length, it has a presence that feels more deliberate and controlled. Every line was designed to communicate precision. It doesn't just look luxurious, it looks calculated. At the front, the design ties back to the G-Wagon, but everything is amplified. The grille is larger, more aggressive, framing the iconic Mercedes three-pointed star. The front bumper and hood are constructed for function. Large air intakes and heat extractors reflect how deeply performance is integrated into every contour. Nothing here is just decorative. This is a machine where engineering meets art, creating a vehicle that truly stands in a category of its own. And then, there's the roof. Mounted on top is a carbon fiber roof rack with 6 LED lights, reinforcing this G-Class's rugged identity. But the real story is the body, made from aerospace-grade CFRP. These aren't cosmetic, they're structural panels. They make the truck 400 pounds lighter without compromising the rigidity or safety expected from Mercedes. Even the 22-inch forged wheels feature carbon inserts, wrapped in high-performance Pirelli Scorpion all-terrain tires. Inside, tech meets luxury with integrated fingerprint scanners on the door handles for ultimate security and convenience. From the carbon-lined bed to the full-width LED taillights, this 800 pickup represents the absolute peak of engineering and design. By the time you've taken in all these details, it becomes clear. This isn't just a pickup with luxury features. It's a completely reimagined concept. The moment you step inside, the entire experience shifts. It doesn't feel like a pickup at all. It feels like a G63 AMG with a bed attached to it. A signature blue ambient glow flows across the interior, setting a sharp, focused mood for performance rather than just comfort alone. High-grade Napa leather seats with diamond quilting and 16-way power adjustment ensure the perfect driving position for any preference. Carbon fiber seat backs and trim reinforce the identity, pushing performance-oriented materials into every corner of the cabin. The AMG steering wheel and dual 12.3-inch displays create a modern interface that keeps the driver connected and in control. Together, they create a luxury experience that stands completely apart from any traditional truck in its category. The system runs Mercedes-Benz's MBUX software, but with AMG-specific enhancements. You get performance data logging, real-time telemetry, and off-road information when needed. It's not just about navigation or entertainment. It's about giving the driver insight into how the vehicle is performing in real time. The ambient lighting system offers up to 64 color options, but blue remains the default for a reason. It represents AMG's performance heritage, and in this truck, it becomes part of the identity. It's consistent, intentional, and present throughout the cabin without feeling overwhelming. Sound is another area where this truck refuses to follow typical luxury rules. It's equipped with a Burmester 3D surround sound system, delivering 27 speakers and around 2,500 watts of power. The audio quality is clear, immersive, and detailed, filling the cabin without distortion even at higher volumes. But what makes this setup different is how it coexists with the engine. The cabin is heavily insulated, featuring triple-sealed doors and laminated acoustic glass. Under normal conditions, it blocks out most external noise, creating a controlled, quiet environment. But unlike traditional luxury vehicles, this truck doesn't try to silence everything. You still hear the engine, The exhaust note is deliberately tuned to remain present inside the cabin. It's not intrusive, but it's always there, reminding you that this isn't just a comfortable vehicle, it's a performance machine. In AMG philosophy, sound is part of the experience, not something to be eliminated. When it comes to storage, things are slightly different from what you'd expect in a typical pickup. There's a center console, door pockets, and some under-seat storage, but overall, space is more limited. And that's intentional. The cabin wasn't designed to maximize utility. It was designed to maximize material quality, driver engagement, and overall experience. Every inch of space was used to enhance the feeling of being inside something rare, rather than something purely functional. And that becomes more apparent the longer you sit inside it. This truck doesn't try to blend in or adapt to traditional expectations. It doesn't aim to be the most practical, the most spacious, or even the most efficient. Instead, it focuses on delivering a very specific kind of experience, one that combines luxury, performance, and exclusivity into a single environment. Everything you touch, everything you see, and everything you hear reinforces that idea. And by the time you've taken in the full interior, it's clear that this isn't just about adding premium features to a truck. It's about redefining what a pickup can feel like from the inside out, turning it into something that sits closer to a high-performance luxury vehicle than anything traditionally associated with this segment. But as impressive as the design and interior are, none of it would matter if the engineering underneath couldn't support it. Based on Mercedes-AMG's reinforced ladder frame, this structure is strengthened with carbon fiber for extreme stability. The AMG Ride Control adaptive air suspension adjusts in milliseconds, balancing high-speed stability with off-road capability. With ground clearance reaching over 12 inches, it handles challenging surfaces that would stop a typical pickup. At its heart is a hand-built twin-turbo 4.0-liter V8, delivering a massive 800 horsepower and 738 pound-feet of torque. This power is managed by a 9-speed transmission and launch control, putting its performance on par with sports cars. It's not just a truck, it's a statement of what happens when you push engineering far beyond expectations. And this is where things start to feel almost unreal for something with a truck bed. 0 to 60 happens in just 3.8 seconds. That's a number you'd expect from sports cars. Not a vehicle with off-road capability, but here it becomes part of the identity. For this buyer, fuel economy is irrelevant. The focus is entirely on performance, exclusivity, and the overall experience. With 7 drive modes, every system, from throttle to suspension, is engineered to handle 800 horsepower without compromise. When you compare it to the rest of the segment, that's when the real difference in positioning begins to show. From the authoritative Escalade 1000 to the raw power of the TRX 3000, the ultra-luxury pickup space is filling with serious contenders. And Ford, with the Raptor, continues to dominate in off-road durability, proving these trucks can truly be pushed to their limits. And then you have this. The Mercedes-AMG G800 pickup doesn't try to outdo these trucks in their own categories. It doesn't aim to be the most practical, the most capable off-road, or even the most aggressive in a traditional sense. Instead, it moves the entire conversation into a different direction, one where exclusivity, craftsmanship, and material innovation become the defining factors. Because when you look at the pricing, the gap becomes immediately clear. This truck sits significantly higher, with an estimated price range that can push well beyond $250,000 depending on configuration. That places it in a space where it's no longer being cross-shopped with other pickups. Instead, it begins to overlap with high-end luxury sedans, super SUVs, and even entry-level exotic cars. And so the primary question begins to change. It's no longer, is this better than a TRX or a Raptor? It becomes, what are you actually buying here? And the answer isn't simple, but it is very specific. You're buying a hand-built AMG engine, assembled by a single technician and signed as a mark of craftsmanship. You're buying a full carbon fiber exterior, not as an optional trim, but as a structural component that defines the entire vehicle. You're buying a level of detail that extends from the exterior panels all the way into the smallest elements of the interior. But more than anything, you're buying exclusivity. Because trucks like this aren't built in large numbers. They're not designed to be common. In fact, their entire value depends on the opposite. The fewer there are, the more they stand out. And that matters in certain markets. In regions where automotive ownership is often tied to identity and status, places where vehicles are seen as extensions of personal success, this kind of machine serves a very clear purpose. It's not about blending in. It's about being immediately recognizable, even among other high-end vehicles. And that's something traditional luxury pickups, no matter how well built, don't fully achieve. Ownership of something like this also comes with a very different experience. Maintenance, for example, isn't as straightforward as it would be with a standard truck. The carbon fiber body panels, while incredibly strong and lightweight, require specialized repair processes. Any damage isn't something you can fix at a typical body shop. It requires expertise, time, and significant cost. The engine, being hand-built and highly tuned, also demands careful servicing. Regular maintenance intervals become more critical, and parts are not only expensive but sometimes limited in availability. Fuel costs, of course, are high, but again, that's expected and largely irrelevant at this level. Insurance is another factor. With a vehicle that sits this high in value and uniqueness, premiums are significantly higher and coverage often needs to be tailored specifically. But none of these factors are hidden. They're part of the ownership experience, and for the intended buyer, they're not seen as drawbacks. They're accepted as part of owning something rare, because ultimately, this truck isn't designed to make practical sense in the traditional way. It's designed to make a different kind of sense, one that revolves around presence, engineering, and the idea of owning something that almost no one else can. And that's where it succeeds, not by competing directly with other trucks, but by stepping outside the category entirely and redefining what a pickup can represent at the highest level. And once you start looking at it from that perspective, the final question becomes much more interesting. Because in the end, the real question isn't whether this truck is practical, efficient, or even necessary. It's whether those things were ever part of the goal in the first place. And the answer is clear: they weren't. This machine exists to push boundaries. It takes a format that has always been associated with utility and transforms it into something that operates in the same space as high-performance luxury vehicles. It challenges the idea that a pickup has to justify itself through function alone. Instead, it focuses on experience, the way it looks, the way it sounds, the way it accelerates, and the way it immediately separates itself from everything around it. Every decision, from the carbon fiber body to the hand-built engine, points toward one purpose: creating something that feels rare every single time you interact with it. And that's what defines it. Not numbers, not specs, and not even comparisons, but the fact that it doesn't need to compete directly with anything else to make its point. It stands on its own, in a space where very few vehicles exist. So does it make sense to buy one? From a practical standpoint, probably not. But from the perspective of someone who values exclusivity, engineering, and presence above all else, it makes perfect sense. Because for the right buyer, this isn't just a truck, it's a statement.